had a small fit in back.
Did you? Can't imagine why. Did it help talking about whatever it was? Was it helpful to talk to somebody after?
Yes, it always is. They're really nice. They're really nice. The guys are really nice guys.
But you just reminded me, you sound retired.
There should be like a general announcement and we say welcome. Please turn off all your cell phones.
Oh, hi, Beth. How are you? Good afternoon, everybody. I think there's a couple more seats up front here, maybe not too many. Welcome. We are live streaming this meeting as all of our meetings now. And if for any reason you don't like the way you look, Billy Iverson's right back there. You can speak with him. I'd like to call the meeting to order for February 11th, 2020. Jeffrey Christ, chairperson of the Montgomery IDA board. And I'd like to introduce board members present, which is all but one of us, starting with John Masiosi on my right. Welcome, John. Ed Williams, my immediate right. Back on the far left, Matt Stoddard, Steve Rinaldi, and Bob Santo. Thank you all for being here. And I apologize at the first part of the public hearing, I neglected to introduce our secretary, Sue Haddon, and our counsel, Bob McLaughlin. So, well, welcome everybody. The first item on tonight's agenda is a continuation of the hearing for USEF sailfish. And that hearing began last month on January 6th. I do have some opening remarks that, in order to cover all the bases, I'll be reading off. I'll go through those as quickly as possible. And I'll ask for comments from the applicant and then open the comments up for the public hearing under some parameters, which I'll go over in a moment. As I mentioned, I'm Jeffrey Christ, chairman of the town of Montgomery IDA, in connection with this project, subject being, as mentioned previously, USEF sailfish. The record relating to the involvement of the agency with a project known as a proposed project for the benefit of USEF Sailfish, LLC. As stated, this public hearing is a continuation of the public hearing held on January 6, 2020. At that public hearing, in addition to hearing from various elected officials or their representatives, as well as other officials serving in the public in various capacities, almost 20 residents from the town of Montgomery spoke and expressed their opinions, thoughts, and concerns. On behalf of all the members of this agency board, we want to thank the public for their time in attending and for your input. Only with your input can we fully investigate, determine if requested financial assistance should be considered. We recognize that the project under consideration is controversial. We appreciate the civility of the various meetings we have held with respect to this project and the respect that those in attendance have shown those who have commented. By way of a reminder, the proposed project consists of the following: the acquisition of an interest in approximately 187-acre parcel of land located at New York State Route 17K and 747, also known as 635 International Drive in the town of Montgomery, Orange County, New York. And the tax map numbers 31-1-64, 65.22, 70.2, and 89, collectively known after this as the land. The construction on the land of approximately 1,010,880 square foot facility with related site work and exterior improvements now known as the facility in this document, and the acquisition, installation therein and thereon of related fixtures, machinery, equipment, and other personal property, collectively known as the equipment, all of the foregoing to constitute a warehouse distribution facility, the land, the facility, and the equipment being collectively referred to as the project facility. Next, the assignment and granting of certain financial assistance within the meaning of section 854, parentheses 14 of the Act with respect to the foregoing, including potential exemptions from certain sales and use taxes, real estate property taxes, real estate transfer taxes, and mortgage recording taxes, collectively considered financial assistance. All is approved by the agency for the benefit of Blue Water One LLC on November 12th, 2019. And item C, the lease with an obligation to purchase or sale of the project facility to the company or such other persons or entities as may be designated by the company and agreed upon by the agency. As disclosed at the special meeting of the agency held on December 3rd, 2019, and at the start of this public hearing held on January 6, 2020, the company's predecessor, Blue Water One LLC, assigned the application submitted to the agency in January 2019 to the company. The company and the company's representatives discussed the assigned application at that time. After such disclosure, the agency scheduled this public hearing pursuant to the Act as described below. The agency is considering whether A, to undertake the project as assigned to the company, B, whether to provide the company certain exemptions from taxation with respect to the project as determined by the agency on behalf of the company's predecessor, Blue Water One LLC, for the project and project facility on November 12th, 2019, including 1, exemption for mortgage recording taxes with respect to any documents, if any, recorded by the agency with respect to the project in the office of the Orange County Clerk of Orange County, New York, or elsewhere. 2, exemption from deed transfer taxes on any real estate transfers, if any, with respect to the project. 3, exemption from sales tax related to the acquisition, construction, renovation, and installation of the project facility. And 4, in the event that the project facility should be subject to real property taxation, if owned by the company, but shall be deemed exempt from real property taxation due to the involvement of the agency therewith. Exempt from real estate property taxes, but not including special assessments and special ad valorem levies, if any, with respect to the project facility, subject to the obligation of the company to make payments in lieu of taxes with respect to the project facility. If any portion of the financial assistance to be granted by the agency with respect to the project is not consistent with the agency's uniform tax exempt policy, the agency will follow the procedures for deviation from such policy set forth in section 874, parentheses 4 of the Act prior to granting such portion of the financial assistance. At the opening of this public hearing on January 6, 2020, I provided general information on the agency's general authority and public purpose of this hearing. Those statements are in the written transcript of that January 6, 2020 public hearing, which is posted to the agency's website, as well as recorded on video and archived by the agency in accordance with New York State law. Accordingly, I will incorporate those provisions in my statements by this reference, but I will not repeat that general information today. Written comments. The notice of this public hearing indicated the written comments could be addressed to myself, Jeffrey Chris, chairperson of the agency. Written comments were received before January 6, 2020, and I noted those at the commencement of this public hearing on January 6, 2020. In addition, since the start of the public hearing, the following written comments have been received by the agency, and council has advised that they should be read into the record. We have a considerable number. They include correspondence we received on January 6th after the beginning of the public hearing in my previous list of comments. Beverly Mertz. Do I need to say the date on each one?
You should.
Okay. These are all January. First one being email, January 3rd, Nina Schneider. January 4th, Seal Van Zandt. January 5th, Ursula Lettner. January 6th, John Xanthus. January 6th, Ginny Ulsterhout. January 6th, actually all the rest of this part of the list are January 6th. Brian Marr, Town of Montgomery Supervisor. Susan Cockburn, Christine Melly, Richard Bystruck, Beverly Mertz, another one, Sherry Exothos, Fred Mertz, John Brown, Lerner Pavlik Realty, Barbara Lerner. That completes the list of correspondence we received on January 6th or just before that weren't previously in the record. This next list is what we've received since that time. One on January 6th, later that evening, Karina Tipton. And then going on to the next day, Fred Mertz, the 7th, Beverly Mertz, the 8th, Beverly Mertz, the 14th, Don Berger, the 23rd, Beverly Mertz, the 23rd, Walter Polachek, the 23rd, Tim Mitchell, the 23rd, Beth Alexandra Hoffman, the 23rd, Nina Schneider, the 23rd, John Kitcherman, the 23rd, John Lown, the 23rd, Mike Bellarosa, the 23rd, by way of email, which included another copy of the January 6th letter. Fred Mertz, the 23rd, Seal Van Zandt, the 23rd, Ursula Lettner, the 23rd, Rich Steiger, the 23rd, Barbara Lerner, the 24th, Don Berger, the 27th, Richard Bystruck, February 3rd, Residents Protecting Montgomery had a number of signatures yesterday, February 10th, and today we received a letter from the Valley Central School District signed by John Xanthus, the superintendent. And that completes the list that I'm aware of to this time. Sound good? I will now introduce Don Chase of the company, who will discuss further information regarding the project and project facility. Don.
Good evening, Chairman Chris and IDA board members. My name is Don Chase, partner and co-managing member of Blue Water Industrial Properties. We are the developer of Project Sailfish. I'm here tonight with Brad Griggs with Amazon and Luke Stevens with USAA, our partners in this project. Before I begin my remarks, I'd like to remind the board of two things. Number one, on November 12th, 2019, this board approved a resolution providing financial assistance to Project Sailfish. In the original application submitted in January of 2019, we stated that this application would be assigned to the prospective and ownership entity of the project. We indicated that our financial partner is USA Real Estate. USEF Sailfish is their property ownership entity. Please keep these two things in mind as we hear the comments this evening. For the record, I'd like to review some facts concerning the project and to offer some additional information for clarification. We began our interaction with the Montgomery IDA in May of 2018. We met with then Chairman Ed Devitt, Board Member Rod Winchell, and the Executive Director Joe Joy for the purpose of discussing this potential project. At the time of that meeting, we were contemplating a speculative project. We did not have a tenant in mind. The potential project was well received, and given the beneficial economic impact, it was considered clearly eligible for a project level 3 benefits under your uniform tax exemption policy. We continued that dialogue throughout the remainder of 2018. In the fall of 2018, we partnered with USA Real Estate to negotiate a contingent agreement with Amazon to lease the to-be-built facility. This agreement was contingent on the potential financial incentives, the lease negotiations, as well as approvals for the project, among other things. The original application, as I mentioned, submitted in January of 2019, called for the assignment of the incentives to USA Real Estate. On January 14th, 2019, at the IDA's regularly scheduled public meeting, I presented an overview of Project Sailfish to the IDA board. On February 12th of last year, the IDA held a public hearing on the proposed financial assistance package. The public hearing was closed that evening, and a decision on the financial assistance was duly postponed until the planning board could commit their secret process for the project. We began meetings with the town board and the planning board in early 2018 to discuss the project and establish the entitlement process. Throughout 2018 and 2019, over 40 public meetings and public hearings were held here, including the town board, the planning board, the ZBA, and you, the IDA. On September 24, 2019, the planning board completed its secret process as lead agency by issuing a finding statement. On November 7, 2019, the town board voted to change the zoning on a portion of the property from IB to I2, allowing for the approval of the development under the planning board's authority to grant site plan and SEUP approval. On November 12, 2019, you adopted the secret finding statement and voted to approve the financial assistance package to Blue Water One LLC as modified from Uniform Tax Exemption Policy Level 3 benefit, providing a 90% tax abatement for the first 5 years versus 100% tax abatement. On November 18, 2019, the ZBA voted to approve the parking area variance for the space of the project. And on November 25, 2019, the planning board voted to approve the site plan and SEUP. In short, over 2 years, culminating 2.5 months ago, this project has obtained all of its required approvals from the town of Montgomery, including the financial assistance package from you, the IDA. We are simply here to assign the financial benefit to our partner, the landlord entity USEF Sailfish LLC, as highlighted in the original application. As you know, since the public meeting on January 6th, we have worked with the town supervisor and the chair to respond to various public and agency comments regarding the project and the assignment application. Chief among these is the value of the financial incentive. The current approved pilot, as I mentioned, provides for a 90% abatement of new real estate taxes in the first 5 years of the project. This deviation from the IDA's UTAP provides for an additional $1.4 million, approximately, in pilot payments to be made during the first 5 years of the project to the local taxing jurisdictions. This deviation to the benefit of the community was negotiated after multiple conversations and meetings with the IDA chair, the Valley Central School District, the town, Amazon, and other local constituents. The current proposed pilot, a further deviation, has been offered by the project and further increased in favor of the local community in response to comments and further discussions over the past month. The result is now over $2.7 million in additional tax payments to the local taxing jurisdictions for the first 5 years of the project, doubling the previous deviation. Over the 15-year pilot agreement, according to our estimates, the taxing jurisdictions would receive approximately $26 million in payments, compared to approximately $690,000 in tax payment over the same 15 years if the project does not proceed. How the taxing jurisdictions decide to budget these funds is well within their discretion. With respect to the application, I would like to correct several misunderstandings for the record. In addressing these, I'd like the board and the public to understand that at the time of the original application, we had not yet begun to review the secret process, and we had not yet begun public hearings for the site plan and SEUP approval, which produced several major changes in the plans for the projects. At the time of the application, Blue Water had been working with the town of Montgomery to adopt an approach for the wastewater treatment plant, very similar to what had been used on Neelytown Road decades ago. With sanitary sewer unavailable in the town east of Bracken Road, the plan was for the wastewater treatment to be built initially in conjunction with the project, and it would be donated to the town and ultimately expanded to serve the Coldenham area. It was determined through the 40+ public hearings, and as well as in comments from the town's professionals, that the town did not want to be compelled to take ownership of the wastewater treatment plant. Therefore, we are only providing an offer of dedication per the conditions of the site plan approval, so that the choice is left to the town to take the plant at some point in the future or never. At the time of the original application, we had intended to remove the Haber House on International Boulevard, which is currently uninhabitable and suffers from years of neglect. However, during the review of the property, the New York State Historic Preservation Office, or SHPO, determined that the structure should be saved and moved to an alternate location on the site. We agree with that, and we are moving the Haber House slightly north and reconditioning it for future use. I would also like to address the structure of the real estate ownership and how the IDA financial assistance passes through to Amazon, the ultimate beneficiary who's providing the 800 full-time equivalent jobs. In our letter of February 5th to the board, we provided you an organizational chart which shows that. Blue Water One LLC, as I mentioned earlier, is our ownership entity. USEF Sailfish LLC is USA Real Estate's ownership entity. The IDA documents need to be done with the real estate entity. Blue Water Industrial Partners is the developer for the project, and as is typical in a commercial real estate, we created the entity, Blue Water One, to purchase the land for Project Sailfish from the 3 landowners. We made our original application through Blue Water One LLC. USA Real Estate, similarly, in its capacity as an institutional real estate investor, created its ownership entity, USEF Sailfish LLC, to own the property and finance the development of the building. This is the assignee under the assignment application you're considering today. The partnership with USAA calls for the real estate to be transferred to USEF Sailfish LLC and for Blue Waters to remain as the developer of the project. USEF Sailfish LLC will be responsible for the compliance with the IDA's local labor policy, as well as complying with other provisions of the Uniform Tax Exemption Policy and their approving resolution throughout the development of the project. USEF Sailfish LLC, through its general contractor, R.C. Anderson, will hire the 300 to 400 local construction workers during the 12+ month construction period. Amazon will lease the facility on a long-term basis from USEF Sailfish LLC and will be hiring 800 full-time equivalent employees. Through that lease, the financial assistance will inure to them as the tenant, either through reduced construction costs initially or via reduced real estate taxes via the pilot. These incentives are clearly material to their choice of location and are a definitive requirement to their locating in Montgomery. As a final note, to be consistent, we did not make any material changes in the assignment application other than the name and the entity information. We regarded the official determinations like the secret finding statement and the change in the tax rates pilot structure to apply automatically to the assignment of our original application and the related financial assistance awarded on November 12, 2019. I'm hopeful that my remarks today, those in the public hearing on January 6th, and our letters to the board on January 13 and February 5th help to provide full understanding of the project. As I'm concluding my remarks, I'll ask Luke Stevens from USAA to provide a few brief remarks from the board on their role, and then Brad Briggs with Amazon, giving their perspective on the IDA incentive and what it means to them. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Good evening. My name is Luke Stevens. I work for USA Real Estate. I've been actively working on this project for the last 18 months. I'd like to begin with reiterating our commitment to Project Sailfish, Blue Water, and Amazon. We have actively worked on over 30 projects with Amazon across the country, and similar to every real estate investment we have in our company, we've created an entity level LLC, USEF Sailfish LLC. USA Real Estate exists to serve the military men and women and active members and non-active members of the military. In our parent company, USAA, which is, as we all know, the insurance provider, we exist to help diversify their portfolio and basically live to serve our military men and women in USA. I'd like to, in closing, reiterate that the incentives that are discussed tonight will be passed through to Amazon, and appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Chairman Chris, IDA Board, Supervisor, Montgomery residents, thank you. My name is Brad Griggs. I'm a Senior Manager on the Economic Development Team with Amazon. I cover primarily the Northeast region. I want to thank you again for the time here this evening. We're happy to continue the discussion related to the proposed project at 635 International Drive. The project under consideration by Amazon is a non-sortable facility that would employ 800 full-time jobs with at least starting at $15 an hour, comprehensive benefits, and we as a company are starting at $15 an hour. And we as a company are customer focused. This facility would help to fulfill orders throughout North America. It is a key cog in our distribution and logistics network, and the IDA assistance is part of a material decision-making factor for our leadership to increase the number of active facilities to be able to fulfill our customer orders, provide great selection and competitive prices to our customer base throughout not just this area, but all of North America. Amazon is also focused not just on our customers, but providing long-term relationships with the communities that we go into, providing significant employment opportunities, capital investment into the communities that we go to, and long-term positive impacts through community engagement. For our employees, we offer programs like Career Choice, which covers up to 95% of prepaid tuition for advancement degrees or commercial licenses or nursing programs to allow them to advance their careers, whether that is with Amazon or outside of the company in the future. We hire currently 21,000 veterans and military spouses with the goal to reach 25,000 by the end of 2021. We have a commitment to upskill over 100,000 of our employees by 2025, backed by a $700 million investment in our employees. So the folks that would be hired in this facility would be eligible to be upskilled through that process. For the communities that we go into, beyond our own employees, each facility is empowered to engage with the community, but some of the standard programs that we offer throughout our logistics network are things like Amazon Future Engineers, which is a 4-part childhood to career program, which increases computer science access in underserved and underrepresented communities. We focus on elementary schools, high schools, scholarships, internships, and robotics grants to those schools and communities, thereby increasing computer science access throughout the communities that we enter. Additionally, at our fulfillment centers, we host Camp Amazon. It is a day camp to provide STEAM and STEM initiatives and classes. They are focused on providing a tour of our facilities to students, children age and through high school. We provide lessons from our operational leadership. We provide robotics demonstrations to encourage children to build, imagine, and innovate. The last one I want to touch on is part of our philanthropic and charitable efforts through Amazon Goes Gold. It is cancer awareness and donation matching through both our employees and our facilities. We partner with the American Childhood Cancer Organization, St. Jude's, and the Children's Oncology Group to provide grants to hospitals and research facilities throughout North America. Just want to reiterate, in partnership with Blue Water and USAA, that this non-sortable facility and the IDA assistance is a material factor in the decision to move forward with this project, and it is what has allowed Amazon to engage to date and hopefully bring this facility to the town of Montgomery in the future. Thank you, Chairman, and the IDA Board.
Thank you, Brad. Yes, Board Member Santos asking if we'll get a copy of what you just said. It will be on the transcript, and we do have Michelle here doing that stenography effort. Yeah, sure.
I'm reading here, after listening to you, you are covering most of these items. However, in a letter from the school district, they say it's equally as disappointing. Sailfish and Amazon continue to reject the school district's attempt to encourage them to demonstrate their goodwill and willingness by partnering with the school in funding educational opportunities for both the potential workforce and our children through a community-hosted benefit agreement, which is a CBA. Why would you provide the same thing and yet not agree to working with the school district on that?
So we met with the superintendent and had ongoing discussions with him regarding how we engage. Our typical process is that once the facility is sited, we work with the school districts to engage on the programs as I described that are a commitment to the communities that we go to. Community benefit agreement is not something that we utilize in the communities that we go into. We've expressed that to Superintendent Santos, that we are welcome to having conversations about how we can engage with the school district, how once this facility is sited, we can work with them to provide the sort of opportunities to attend day camps. Most recent one in the region was at our fulfillment center in Staten Island, New York. We recently hosted a day camp there. We have our Amazon Future Engineers programs to invest in underrepresented and underserved school districts. So we would partner with the superintendent, but once the facility is opened and once the facility has been approved and we are moving forward with our full commitment to the community.
What guarantee do they have that you're going to do that? If you're agreeing not to now?
We have yet to finalize our real estate process. It is our practice, and we have a long history of community engagement when we site the facility. It is after the point that we have completed our real estate process that we are empowered to engage with the community and with the superintendent.
I see, apparently you haven't convinced the school district of that.
We have reached out to the superintendent throughout this process and hope to continue to have ongoing discussions with him once this site is hopefully across the finish line and into reality.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Prior to continuing the public hearing, which commenced on January 6, 2020, I wanted to note that several of the comments made at the time have been addressed in a letter from the applicant's counsel, White, Osterman, and Hanna, LLP, dated February 5th, 2020. This letter has been posted to the agency website with its supporting exhibits. I also note that several of the public comments made on January 6, 2020 have been addressed by the applicant's counsel letter of that same date. These include the following. An organizational chart is provided demonstrating the relationship between Blue Water and its members, Blue Water Industrial Partners, the applicant, USEF Sailfish, LLC, and its members, and the tenant of the property, Amazon. In addition, the officers and directors of the members' entities comprising USEF Sailfish, LLC are provided, and I think backs up what you just described, each of you gentlemen. The removal, relocation, and rehabilitation of the Arnott Haber House has been clarified in accordance with the seeker finding statement. Next bullet, the offer of dedication of the wastewater treatment plant will be recorded in accordance with the seeker finding statement and shall provide the town with an ongoing option but no obligation to accept the offer. In accordance with the seeker finding statement, a hydrogen fuel cell station is proposed on the west side of the warehouse building. The hydrogen will be used to replenish fuel cells in the material handling equipment. The applicant notes that hydrogen is not a regulated fuel. Next bullet point, Schedule E now reflects the proposed deviation from the agency's UTEP increasing the overall tax payment to be made to the taxing jurisdictions, as well as stating the current tax on the land. And that was just stated as being just over 2.7 million in the first 5 years of modification. The removal of the 4 million in state program funding from the company's application has been explained. In addition, other public comments at the opening of this public hearing on January 6, 2020 include the following. The comment was the project should not receive a pilot beyond the partial exemption provided in section 485B provisions of the state's real property tax law. And our agency response is the agency adopted a unified tax exempt policy in 2008 and has, in accordance with state law, examined and considered the provisions of such policy annually. Next bullet point, the agency should impose a highway tax. Our response is we have no taxing power to do this. And these are comments from the public hearing last month. Another one is the hourly wages to be provided are not a living wage. And our agency response is, as two different speakers noted on that January 6th hearing date, what is a living wage is entirely in the purview of the person earning that wage. Next bullet point, Matt Stoddard should not be allowed to vote. The agency response, this question has been raised to and addressed by this board on more than one occasion. Mr. Stoddard serves at the pleasure of the town board, as do all of the agency members. The town board has to date taken no action to remove any of the current board members. Next point, several comments were made regarding the references to this agency in the state investigative report issued in December of 2019. Two of these comments were negative, criticizing this agency, and one comment supported this agency. Our response is the agency has considered the statements made in the Senate report. We know how important such oversight is to the efficiency and transparency of public bodies. We intend to respond shortly to the statements made in the report. Next item, one comment was made on the need for a traffic study, and our response is this was discussed in the seeker finding statement. In addition, the Valley Central School District has submitted a letter which argues that this agency should not grant a pilot agreement, but instead strongly encourages the company and the applicant to negotiate a pilot agreement with the district. A benefit agreement with the district. If such an agreement is negotiated, the letter indicates that the district would support a pilot. We note that it is not within the powers of this agency under the general municipal law to negotiate such an agreement. And to further explain the general municipal law, the agency may undertake projects either on its own behalf, agency projects, or for the benefit of an applicant projects. Applicant projects may be either bond projects involving agency debt or straight lease projects not involving agency debt. Under the Act, the agency can undertake the following types of projects: manufacturing, industrial, warehousing, research, commercial, industrial pollution control, recreation, horse racing, railroad, a facility implementing a state-designated urban cultural park management plan, a state-certified continuing care retirement facility. Under the General Act, the agency can provide certain benefits or financial assistance for such projects. In summary, these potential agency benefits include the following: federal and state income tax exemption for interest on certain debt, real property tax exemption, sales tax exemption, other state and local tax benefits, and lastly, other powers authorized by the Act to facilitate projects. Negotiating the benefits agreement on behalf of the district is simply not within the power of the agency. I will now continue the public hearing for public comment. by way of rules, and I mentioned this last month, if you wish to make a public comment, please raise your hand and I will call on you. Please wait to be recognized. Once recognized, please stand and state your name and name and address for the record. And I would ask you to come up to the front podium, to the microphone as well. Please keep your comments to 5 minutes or so, so that all those present today may have a chance to comment for the record. Since this is a continuation of a public hearing from January 6th, I would ask that those people who did not speak be given priority to speak tonight. If you are recognized and already commented on January 6th, please provide additional comments and not repeat the comments previously made or submitted. We have those thanks to Michelle, and I actually have a copy right here. It's I think it's 110 pages before these last pages, whatever they are. There's some sort of a summary of words. If your comments mirror those of someone who has already spoken, you may so indicate and then relinquish the podium to another speaker so that all views represented at this hearing may be heard. When everyone has had the opportunity to speak, I will conclude this public hearing. A record of this public hearing will be viewed by members of the agency in connection with the agency's consideration of the proposed project. Again, this purpose of the public hearing is to solicit public comment. We are not here to answer questions. However, we will, in the course of this public hearing, consider questions if we have the information to answer, and there is sufficient time to consider such questions. I would first like to recognize the town supervisor, Brian Marr, to speak. Brian?
Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate it. First thing I'm going to do is read a letter on behalf of the board. This constitutes a majority of the board in these remarks. Dear Chairman Chris and agency members, I write on behalf of the Montgomery Town Board as a follow-up to my letter of January 6, 2020 in connection with the above referenced matter. My prior letter addressed the application submitted to the Town Industrial Development Agency by USEF Sailfish LLC seeking assignment of the benefits previously granted to Blue Water One LLC in connection with the warehouse to be constructed on 187 plus minus acres at New York State Route 17K and 747 intended for use by Amazon. Since the delivery of my prior letter and the public hearing held before the agency on January 6, 2020, certain developments have taken place that have caused the town board to change its position with respect to the agency's treatment of the project application. In particular, and of critical importance to the town board, the applicant has agreed to modify its obligation to make payments pursuant to the proposed payment in lieu of tax agreement. As revised, in years 1 through 5 of the pilot, payments by the applicant will increase from 10% to 20% of the assessed value of the real property upon which the project site is situated. This modification significantly reduces the initial financial burden on the taxing jurisdictions affected by the project. Accordingly, the town board now supports the project application and has no objection to the granting of same by the agency. You are respectfully advised that while the town board supports the project application, we recommend that the agency consider whether future pilot agreements should be limited to a maximum of 10 years. We would welcome the opportunity to discuss this issue with you. Thank you for your consideration. Very truly yours, Brian Marr, Supervisor. Again, that's the majority of the town board. Now, I would like to make a few statements. Hearing some of the comments that were made, I think it's important, one, at a future meeting, because we have future developments coming in here, I would love the opportunity to come along with representatives of the Valley Central School District to talk about taking a new look at that 15-year pilot. It came to my attention that it's been about 12 years since we've revised that pilot agreement, and I think it's due for another look. Whether we come to an agreement or not, that discussion definitely needs to happen in the near future. I've spoken to Chairman Christ, he agrees, and I look forward to that conversation. In terms of Amazon, I think it was a tremendous disservice, and I'm not gonna say who's to blame for the process or why it happened, but I've been researching some of the benefits in terms of Amazon, in terms of what they do in certain communities, and Brad touched on a few of them, the Amazon Future Engineer Program, Camp Amazon, but I'm gonna read off a few, and I'm gonna give you this, Bob, because I've been doing some research and I can hand it to you. Amazon programs related to communities where our employees live and work, specifically where they have fulfillment centers. Programs that focus on building long-term, innovative, and high-impact programs that leverage Amazon's unique assets and culture that allow more children and young adults to have the resources and skills to build their best future. Amazon concentrates on needs related to programs that address hunger, homelessness, and disaster relief efforts. Another program, Amazon Share Our Strengths No Kid Hungry campaign. This program awards grants to schools as part of its Rise and Smile breakfast project. These grants have allowed teachers and administrators the ability to tailor their breakfast programs so that every student can enjoy a healthy breakfast. By helping kids start their day with a well-balanced breakfast, Amazon supports their ability to thrive and empower them to be the next generation of innovators. Amazon Community Kaizen programs, this one I liked. This program includes small teams of Amazon employees coming together to identify efficiencies and streamline processes. So they basically work with local organizations like, say, Town of Montgomery Food Pantry, and there's a million of them, the Town Senior Independence Project, and it will get their employees, some 800 of them, to really get into groups and help provide technology and resources and manpower. Think about the Montgomery Day Parade, the St. Pat's Ramble. A company like Amazon, they have this specific program where they reach out into the community and help out. Amazon Veteran Technical Apprenticeship Program, another unique one. This, Amazon recently expanded the program to 1,000 apprentices, and they basically have trained more than 150 veterans in cloud computing skills, providing on-the-job paid apprenticeships for service members to seamlessly upskill, much like they're doing with their current employees, and transition into high-demand tech roles. So while we talk about these $15 an hour jobs to start, and I think they'll be much higher than that because the market doesn't support that at the moment, there are really opportunities to treat these employees and get them to a higher skill level. And I think that's been a focus from what I've seen throughout the country. Another one, Amazon Cares. This one is a little more general. It wasn't touched on yet. But their fulfillment center associates, like those here in town of Montgomery potentially, are dedicated to their communities, and this is reflected in their commitment to service through Amazon Cares, which are groups across the country. Amazon Cares groups are grassroots associate-led initiatives, providing opportunities for associates and managers to volunteer in their own backyard, like right here in the town of Montgomery. Because the program is driven by a partnership of associates and leaders within each of the fulfillment centers, teams are able to choose volunteering activities that match their interests and support their local communities. Amazon Cares teams with volunteers and organizations across the country, including but not limited to American Cancer Society, assisted living facilities, YMCA, Salvation Army, United Way, Habitat for Humanity, local hospitals. They partner, and this is what they do. Now, you had a very good question, and I had the same question. When we sat down and talked about the community benefit agreement, we asked for one too. And what Brad was talking about is the company policy. And that's something at a national level with a company this large, I don't know that Brad has the clearance to really budge, right? So I didn't accept that. I need to know more. If you can't agree to this in the pilot, okay, question mark, what's up? So what I did was I reached out to other elected officials in communities where they have fulfillment centers. By the way, there's over 180 globally and over 110 in North America alone. I spoke to town administrators, I spoke to city managers, I spoke to mayors, and specifically in Windsor, Connecticut, their fulfillment center has been up and running for 5 years. And I said, hey, we have a lot of concerns. I addressed a lot of them that were mentioned here in terms of traffic, in terms of the jobs, in terms of how many town residents become employees, in terms of these programs like the Kaizen program, are they really in your communities? And they said yes. And I talked about the numbers and the incentives and the jobs and did they meet their qualifications. And in every sense, in every conversation that I had, not only did they meet them, but they exceeded them. We had one story with a local pizza shop had 190 pizzas delivered in 2 days. And then they had to stop and say, I have to take another call. It's Amazon. I got another 50 pizza pies. There are so many stories like that. And I'll be the first one to say I have some issues in terms of having an influx of warehouses and our ability to address that as a town and manage that. That's why you've seen us talk about a potential moratorium on warehouses and distribution facilities. And I think the important part here is moving forward, we need to clean this up. But for the application that has pretty much already been approved, and this organization that has, in my opinion, in my conversations with them, really talked about being a good partner and shown that with the additional $1.4 million over the last few weeks, I think we're on the right track. And what I will tell you is that I am here full time. And any issues you have and any commitments that we need to make sure that they own up to, I'm gonna be on them like a hawk. And you can trust that I will work my butt off, and our team will, to make sure that the environmental concerns are mitigated and that everything else is taken care of as well. And a lot of other things that the residents maybe don't see and that you guys don't see is we just talked about $490,000 in a building permit fee and other fees associated with escrow that they will pay our associates to help inspect on behalf of the town to make sure we have people there 24/7 to watch that. So we're ready, we're prepared, and that's all I got to say. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Brad. I'll now ask for anyone in attendance, giving priority to those who did not speak last month to comment either on the nature or the location of the project facility or the proposed financial assistance. Again, please come up to the front podium after you're recognized. Is there a show of hands of who would like to speak who did not speak on January 6th? Sir, you got two in a row. The gentleman in back raised his hand first. State your name and address, please.
Good evening, my name is Tim Muller, 61 Highland Avenue, Walden. Good evening, everybody. Again, my name is Tim Muller. My family has lived in the town of Montgomery and Walden for over 31 years. I'm also a business representative with the Operating Engineers Local 825. Our members operate heavy machinery, work in quarries, concrete plants, blacktop plants, and equipment rental and repair facilities. Concerns have been expressed about the project, and I certainly respect everyone's opinions. I come tonight in support of the Amazon project for personal reasons. My members and other building trade members who also live in this area need these types of jobs to survive here. The nature of our business is short-term and seasonal, not unlike farming. You need to work when you can because you never know when it's going to dry up or when you're going to get rained out. Our members, like myself, are taxpayers here. We need the income to stay here, to patronize restaurants, and to shop here. Working on construction projects like these allows us to do that. So on behalf of my members and other local tradesmen and women, thank you for the opportunity to speak in favor of the project, and thank you for your consideration of the revised payment agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Good evening. My name is Rich Steger. I'm the president of the Valley Central Teachers Association. The Valley Central Teachers Association stands in opposition to any pilot from Blue Water LLC or USEF Sailfish regarding the Amazon Distribution Center. If these companies are honest with their intention to be strong partners within the town of Montgomery, then paying their full taxes is just the start. The small business owners, the residents of the town, pay their full taxes. The small business owners and residents of the town make monthly monetary donations, as well as volunteer their time and skills to local programs to help make the town of Montgomery and the Valley Central School District one of the most sought-after locations to raise your family. Maureen Hallahan from the Orange County Partnership recently stated in a CBSN interview that this is the prime location for this distribution center. She is correct. Montgomery is in fact a prime location and is in high demand. Prime location comes with a price, a fair price. Fair is paying your full taxes. It is not appropriate to ask our small business owners and our residents to bear the tax burden without asking the same of the wealthiest corporations in town. The Amazon Distribution Center by Blue Water LLC and USEF Sailfish can and should pay their full taxes. If and when this facility is built, it is our expectation that project labor agreements will be utilized and union labor will be on site from the start. Our brothers and sisters from the operating engineers are often left out of the process. They should be on site before breaking ground, not after. Often we hear about we'll have 85 or 90% union labor. They forget our brothers and sisters with the operating engineers in the beginning of the process. Union labor ensures that projects are done with high standards, they're done on time, within budget, and with worker and community safety being a priority. Montgomery is and always will be a union town. The Hudson Valley is and always will be union made. If you truly want to be partners with the Montgomery community, you must put our brothers and sisters from the Hudson Valley building and construction trades to work. And you must pay your full taxes. Paying your full taxes is simply a start. We can't ask for anything less. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Others, sir.
Michael Gatos. Although I do live in the town of Newbury, I represent a lot of men and women of the Montgomery area. To reiterate what the gentleman said with the school district, when this project came, we sat down with Don Chase and his team with much concerns whether they would use local union labor or local labor, period. Through negotiations and a lot of meetings, Amazon was forthcoming in putting their own efforts in to make this work. So to let the gentleman know, they did sit down, and union labor will be represented, every trade and every portion of the job. So we strongly support this project, and hope that everybody gives it that consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Other people wishing to make comments that did not speak on the 6th, sir?
My name is Jeff Diorio. I'm not a resident of Montgomery, but I am the president of Local 17 Laborers and a field rep for Orange County. Local 17 is approximately 50 members that live in the town of Montgomery. This project will create about 400 construction jobs, not only for my local union, but for other building trade members as well, and work will start immediately. The developer of this project has worked closely with the local Building Trades Council since inception. We are expected to start the clearing of site work by month's end, with a union contractor with good wages and benefits. The local building trades have reported that currently about 85% of the construction has been committed to local union contractors who employ local union trades workers. We are working closely with the general contractor and Mr. Chase, the developer, for the remaining 15% of the work. Without the IDA benefits, this project probably would not happen. This is an important project for the local trades workers, as it will be the first job of the season for most. As of right now, the laborers have 20% of the members unemployed, and I assume most of the other trades are the same. Based on the new IDA application, the project will generate nearly $29 million in pilot and tax payments, including $3 million plus to Orange County, $19 million plus to Valley Central Schools, $3 million plus to Coldham Fire District, and over a 15-year period, and remember, full taxes after that. How many town of Montgomery, Walden, Maybrook, or Valley Central School District building trade members are here tonight who do support the project and the proposed benefit package? Show of hands.
Thank you, Jeff. Who else would like to speak who did not speak last month? Sir.
Hi, my name is John Schuler. I'm a town of Montgomery taxpayer. I'm also a member of Labor's Local 17. I witnessed firsthand the benefits of projects receiving IDA benefits. Right now, I'm currently working on the Legoland project in Goshen that received IDA benefits through the Orange County IDA. And there are over 450 trade workers on that project currently, of which 400 of them are local tradesmen. Because the Orange County IDA has a local labor policy similar to the one that Montgomery is going to have for a labor policy, which requires 85% of labor to come from the local labor pool. Legoland is tracking the use of local labor, and 400 jobs are out there with good wages and benefits. The average trades worker is earning between $1,500 and $2,000 a week. Without IDA benefits, the Legoland project just might not have happened in this area. The project we're talking about tonight, Sailfish Amazon, will employ hundreds of local workers, again earning $1,500, $2,000 a week, and that will not happen without IDA benefits. The project is in a good location, and based on the information that we have received, it'll generate over $6.5 million in taxes the first 5 years, and just shy of $29 million over 15 years. So as a taxpayer in Montgomery, I support this project and the approval of the IDA.
Thank you, John. Other people wishing to speak tonight who did not speak last month? Sir.
My name is Mike Friedman. I live on Wheat Street in Walden. I've been a resident of Montgomery for about 11 years now. I'm a member of Local 17 Laborers Union. I support this project for the following reasons. truck entrance is 2,000 feet from Route 84, therefore with minimal truck traffic. Limited impact on town and water and sewer. It meets the town master plan, will generate $29 million in taxes in the next 15 years. And local union labor will be used on the project, which helps me and my family. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else for this first round? I'll open it up to those who did speak last month, but I would ask you to be brief on anything that's already been brought up, and a number of things have been addressed in various ways. If you have a further question on those, you're welcome to bring those up. Under those parameters, is there anyone else who would like to speak tonight? John Brown.
Thank you, Board, for continuing this public hearing, and I also applaud the Board for basically making more information transparent through your public postings. I think that's very helpful and solves some of the problems. I was surprised you mentioned a February 5th memo. Is that listed? Because I checked yesterday and I did not find that letter clarifying it on the IDA website.
It's on the website.
When did it go up?
Last week.
Okay. I'm sorry, I must have missed that. Okay, a quick summary. As you know, I have been against this offering of financial relief in both letters on November 12th and on January 6th. And with additional information, I still believe that that financial relief should be denied. I think there are a number of reasons why that's brought up, and I'll quickly summarize those. I do have a letter which I will be turning in at the end of this presentation. Specifically, Don Chase mentioned that when he did his original application, there were different parameters on the wastewater treatment plant, or different, I guess, desires on his part on the wastewater treatment plant and the abandoned house. What is surprising to me is that you went ahead to November 12th and had never got an updated application from them correcting those errors. At least there's none on file that I have ever seen. Now, yes, things were in the secret document, but you never got an updated application. And in fact, in the presentation on November 12th, the counsel for the IDA, in describing the project, was using that application with the false information in describing it. And surprisingly, Blue Water came in and corrected him. So I have a question of whether the board, in fact, actually looked at those secret documents and read them in detail, 64 pages, and in fact verified that they were in accordance with the application. So that's an open question, but certainly by the fact that it was brought out that the wastewater treatment plant was going to be dedicated by your council in the November 12th meeting, certainly questions that. The second thing is, in spite of all that, you received a new application on November 26th from USEF. And in that application, there is the same false information on the wastewater treatment plant and the house as in the original Blue Water application. That was prepared after the secret document, after your November 12th hearing. So there's no excuse why that should have not been correct. Now, what they did say in their letter of January 13th is they did not want to make wholesale changes to the application. Well, it's not wholesale changes to change a couple words, to go from removed to move to a different location on the site. I mean, that's like saying if you read in the paper somebody died, but they forgot the words and he was resuscitated and lived again. So the second thing is, you have all kinds of terms in your application that talks about providing accurate information. I mean, you have many clauses in there about that they've read the document, they confirm it's true, under threat of perjury, they verify that this is correct, yet you had a document that had incorrect information. And oh, by the way, it didn't have the financial information of the tenant. And now that we know who the tenant is, and I haven't seen the February 5th document, has that financial information been put in as a supplement? I don't know that because I haven't seen that, but certainly since you have that in as a requirement in your application, it would seem you should know that information. I also question whether due diligence has been done in challenging or verifying the applicant's claims. Specifically, if we don't get this, we are going to another location. Now, back in December, I believe it was December, Don Chase mentioned all the advantages of being here. Airport, major roads, proximity to 60 million people within 200 miles of this facility. So I question, where's the other locations that provide that? I mean, proximity to Stewart's a big deal when Amazon now has a fleet of 57 737s going up to 20 more supposedly in the next couple of years. So where are those other locations? Have you reached out to other communities to ask, have they applied? I mean, maybe you might want to ask Marine and where another 100-acre site is that has those same advantages. But I think due diligence requires you to evaluate that. Don't just take it at face value, because honestly, I don't believe that there are other locations that meet those needs. The last point, which I think is the most significant one, is throughout this we've heard that they deserve level 3 15-year pilots. And the claim is they will achieve the level 3 score, which needs 12 or more. And their score was 14, at least according to the document that you have on file. And I would argue that that was an incorrect scoring, specifically in 3 areas. Item 2 in that scoring is percentage of Orange County wage. No, this is wage, W-2s, not wages plus benefits and everything else. And in order to get a score on that, you look at their average wage compared to the county wage. Their average wage per the application is $32,156 a year. The Orange County average wage, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, is $50,076 a year. So the percentage of county wage they're paying is 64%. To get to level 2, it has to be 100%. To even get to level 1, it has to be 75%. So rather than 2 points, the real number should be 0 points based on the documentation provided. The second item is in terms of green building practices. And that relates to, do they adhere to LEED standards? And LEED has a whole bunch of different standards from basic on up to platinum. They were awarded a 1 that says they meet LEED basic requirements. Nowhere in the FEIS finding statement or the meetings that I attended throughout these years is LEED even mentioned. So I question, how in the world did you determine that they met the LEED basic standards when it has never been mentioned and is not documented? The third one, which I think is also the most significant, is they claim adherence to our comprehensive plan. So let's take a look at that. 1988 is when we did the original plan. 2010, it was updated and actually codified in local law number 1 and the zoning codified in local law number 2. Part of that was a map, which is a representation of it, and that map's in the back of the room. 2 of the parcels that they're using were zoned IB, not I2, which would not allow this warehouse. And that zoning map was conformance with the last authorized master plan or comprehensive plan in this town. So they recognized they had to get a zone change. And in fact, that zone change was put in place just last year by local law number 7 of 2019. In putting in that local law, it was specific spot zoning solely for the benefit of Blue Water. And there's no mention in that local law that it is in conformance with a master plan. Why that's important is 2 other local laws on zoning were issued in 2019 and 2018. Both of those other laws, which are zoning changes to parcels, specifically stated that those laws were done in conformance to the master plan. That language was missing from the local law that was passed. And the local law that was passed was done by a 4-to-1 vote with 2 board members who are no longer on the board since they were voted out of the office a week before, and the one person who voted against it was a property owner in proximity to this project who said no. So I just want you to keep that in mind. So my overall point is that this is not in conformance to a recognized master plan in the town by any stretch of the imagination. And the prior ones had not even contemplated 1 million square foot distribution centers and the impacts those have.
John, I need you to wrap up here. You're
Okay.
coming on 10 minutes.
Okay, the last point is that they claim synergy with existing businesses. Well, with their marketing practice of going after every retail dollar, think of what that does to all our local large businesses, investors, and our long-term staples in the economy. I mean, this will affect Millspaw, Soames, and everyone else. They're after every retail dollar. So I urge you, and you probably also know this, there's 2 Article 78s against this. I urge you, based on these facts, to not approve the 15-year pilot because it's not justified by your UTAP score, and also to withhold any further decisions until the Article 78s. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Other speakers who would like to speak on new issues or new questions tonight? Barbara.
Hi, I'm Barbara Lerner. I own the property on the corner of Route 747 and 17K. And thank you for allowing us all to speak this evening. I appreciate the addition of information on Saturday, the 8th, of many of the documents related to this project. These have been helpful to fill in the blanks. However, it is a very short window of time to adequately address many of the issues that are still missing and pieces of information that are still needed. I am still waiting for a response to the FOIL requests from 12/5/2019, where I requested, and a second time on 12/22, that included additional requests for documentation. This was requested again on 1/28. The information is either referenced in documents the applicant previously submitted, or it comes from a general analysis done by the IDA. This all regards the cost benefit. In fact, the only document that I have received was the pilot deviation notice. I believe the Orange County Partnership helped prepare both Exhibits E and F. And while I question the methodology used to arrive at a 2.83 multiplier, without the source documents, it's not possible to verify their calculations. I'm quite surprised that the reference to mileage rates still appears on Exhibit F, even though it was mentioned previously. I don't expect these source documents to be in your possession. However, the cost-benefit analysis initially presented and subsequently amended on 2/4 states that this was prepared by the town of Montgomery using Inform Analytics. Since the town did prepare this information, these source documents are part of the town records. The source data is essential if any analysis is to be done. I cannot imagine why the IDA has withheld this information from me. The cost benefit does not indicate any direct benefit to the town, but seems more to state that it is state and regional. Employment has been stated to largely come from other areas and not from the town of Montgomery in the DEIS and the FEIS, making the spillover revenue highly questionable. Since Amazon is a distribution center, and sales taxes collected based on destination and not origin, even the sales tax revenue comes into question. When I go to the mission statement for the IDA, it states the following: to assist in the enhancement and diversity of the economy of the town of Montgomery by acting in support of projects in the town that create and retain jobs. The warehouse businesses along Neelytown Road and the surrounding area have hundreds of job openings. A project that offers the same type of job in no way supports economic diversity. In fact, this is the antithesis of economic diversity. This project consumes virtually all of the available land along this corridor, essentially ending any opportunity for a more diverse economy for the foreseeable future. It goes on to say, as stakeholders, agency stakeholders include the following: of course, the town supervisor, members of the town board, residents of the town, businesses located or intending to locate in the town, school districts, the state of New York, and local trade unions. At a minimum, agency stakeholders expect the agency's members to carry out the business of the agency in a manner that accomplishes its mission while strengthening the local economy. As stakeholders, we, residents, taxpayers, and business owners, hold all of you to this mission and encourage you to look to more diverse economic models. Also within the bylaws are proposed performance measurements. The approach of Amazon has been to take over the retail marketplace. By locating here, they directly impact not only the Targets, the Walmarts, the Lowe's, and Home Depots, but all of the locally owned retailers who have supported our community and our region for many years. It goes on to say there's a list of proposed performance measurements. E and F are the number and dimension of efforts to support local efforts that support continued job growth and economic gains for the town. And the number and dimension of efforts to support regional efforts that support continued job growth and economic gains for the region. The impact to our local and regional economy, to our property values, to existing businesses in close proximity to this project have not been adequately addressed, but instead have been given a cursory look and brushed off as inconsequential. As a taxpayer for the past 45 years, I feel this is a disservice to all of us. This proposed project is for a leased property. There is no assurance that Amazon will even be here in 10 years, let alone 15, when the building will be entering a life phase of renovation and needed repair. The applicant has stated that they will not move forward without the benefit of tax abatement. I say we can do better. We can support industries with a greater assessed value than warehousing that leave much lesser impact on our environment and on our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Anyone else? Don Berger.
Don Berger, Village of Montgomery. I want to start off with, and it's just a general thing here, I'm going to refer to General Municipal Law, Article 18-A, Industrial Development, Title 1, and the section here within. I'm referring to Section 859A. And I'll just read Part 2 to this. The agency must hold a public hearing with respect to the project and the proposed financial assistance being contemplated by the agency. And what I'm referring to with that is the new application that's before you. It's my belief, based on what I'm reading here with municipal law, that you're required to have another new public hearing. So I'll leave that for you guys to make that decision. Furthermore, I'm going to read a quote from the Times-Herald Record on Tuesday, December 17, 2019. The quote is, "I can think on my own. I am looking out only for the best interest of the town of Montgomery." Do you remember that quote, Mr. Chris? Well, what I say to that, there's two entities that I see that this proposed pilot affects the most. One are the residents of the town of Montgomery. 2 is the Valley Central School District. I can't see how all these deals that you guys are making really helps the residents or helps this school district. School district, we're talking about the growth of our children here. And I think you really, really, really need to look at that. We're talking about our kids. What do we want our kids to do? Where do we want our kids to go? We as parents, as grandparents, we bring these kids up. What do we want them to do? To look forward to going and work for Amazon? Is that what you want your kids to do? Not me. I want bigger things for my children and for my grandchildren. And I think that's a type of projects that this town and this IDA should be considering. Not these type of low-paying jobs. They could talk all they want about $15 an hour. That's ridiculous in the town of Montgomery, and we all know that. So why are we cutting them a break? We shouldn't be doing that. I would also like to say, I don't understand how Mr. Chase can come up here time and time again and threaten this board, and I call it a threat, that if you guys don't give them their pilot, they're out of here. And you know, because we've said it to you all before, goodbye. We don't need you. Take your money and run. We don't need to be threatened like that. As you say, I can think for myself, Mr. Christ. And that's the way we should be doing it. And I'm just going to leave you with one other little thing. And it really bothers me all the time that I've been coming here. And it's this whole thing that that's been created here about, let's just call it the Residents Protecting Montgomery versus these unions. There is no versus these unions. We all want union jobs. I'm a retired union guy. We want good paying jobs. But at what cost? At the cost of bringing a company like Amazon in here that pays low wages. In January, I submitted to you guys, and I hoped you looked at it, at least 10 projects that Amazon has. Fulfillment centers, the same thing they're building over here down by Stewart, where they have work rule violations and they're having labor disputes. And I say to you guys, what union guy, what union member, what union president wants to have a company come in here after you're gone and to have the type of working conditions that has been professed by Congress, United States Congress? Did you read the letter I submitted to you guys? Did anybody read these things? This is the type of people we want to bring in here? I don't think so. We're better than that. We need to move on. We need to get high-tech jobs. Not this type of work. Please think about that. I am against the pilot. Turn down that pilot.
Thank you, Don. Maureen?
Thank you, Chairman Chris. Thank you for this evening's opportunity to address you again. I just wanted to say thank you also for serving at the pleasure of the Montgomery Town Board and being appointed by them. And as you heard this evening by the mayor, the town board has encouraged you to endorse and support this pilot. So we see that as an opportunity for you to make that case. I was looking over the Montgomery IDA website, which promotes pilots on your website to attract companies. It's really a tool to entice companies to come here. We ask them to come, we show them the properties, we encourage them to land here, and then at the 11th hour, it's the worst practice that we could have to then bait and switch and not have that opportunity for them and not offer them what we promised them. Recently, the Orange County Partnership conducted a study researching all the taxes paid on Neely Town Road to the Valley Central School District. Almost $5 million of those taxes a year go directly to the Valley Central School District. Many of those companies that were attracted along the Neely Town Road started with phased-in taxes. It was a program that they entered into and we all benefit from. And almost every pilot is expired now, so they're paying 100% full taxes to the school district. Pilot programs are phased in and they're guaranteed revenue. And it shouldn't matter how successful a company is, but attracting really successful companies is a bonus to us. And Amazon is the most successful company in the world. So that's a bonus for us. But I wanted to say this. In the state of New York, where we pay the highest taxes in the country, IDAs were created as a necessary entity in order to attract companies and get them to come here. If a company does not receive IDA pilots, two things can happen. They don't come, and nobody gets any of the tax revenue. Or they could build, and I don't think we should take that chance, but they could build. But here's the kicker. A company that will come and not receive the incentives have no guarantee to hire anyone local. The best way we can protect our local labor and the trades is to have them enter into a pilot agreement, make sure that they're accountable for hiring local labor and getting all of our local laborers working. Business is our friend in America. Business drives the economy. The numbers speak for themselves. The taxes that will be paid to the county, the town, and Valley Central School District will go on in perpetuity. And the multipliers in job creation and local spending is an investment in our future. We thank you for volunteering on this board, and we ask you to close the public hearing tonight and make the decision to vote favorably for this pilot. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen.
Good evening. Beverly Mertz, Village of Montgomery. Maureen just talked about a bait and switch. Well, let me tell you about a bait and switch. I am holding in my hand a copy of Blue Water's application dated November 26, 2019. Okay? That's the most current one. And that's the one that still has the inconsistencies to the wastewater treatment plant, the harbor house. All of those issues are in this incorrect, signed, by the way, Mr. Chase, false information in this document. I also have a copy of the seeker document, the findings document from the lead agency, Town of Montgomery Planning Board, dated September 24th, 2019. Tell me how they did not know there was false information in that application. Thank you.
Thank you, Beverly. Sir.
Fred Mertz, Village of Montgomery, and an RPM member. I asked for a comprehensive traffic study because of all the projects that are now before you for approval for a pilot and also approval from the planning board. 14 projects in, there's going to be an increased amount of truck traffic along with cars going to and from. If you ever taken the trip Route 84 from Route 9 in Fishkill to Montgomery here, do that early afternoon. It took me an hour and a half to get there based on traffic. So, I mean, there's anything, and heaven forbid there's an accident, and everything is detoured. So now you're putting semis on country roads. You gotta really think about this. And also, what person wants to have their parents, their children, breathing exhaust fumes from diesels or walking around with headphones on to noise cancel on plants that are, or warehouses that are working day in, day out. There's no quality of life whatsoever for those that live near them. So I say, those who want them here, live here. Then you'll know. You don't want it here either. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Other people who would like to speak tonight? Sir.
kind of tiring, I'll tell you that. I had to skip my Epsom salt bath to come in here, all right?
Your name for the record, please?
Richard Bistrak, 17K, Montgomery. Let's congratulate Mr. Mayor. He should work for the advertising department for these guys, I'll tell you. After that speech, that's where he belongs, yeah. We have no doubt about where he stands about this project. Now, I have a real problem, a confusion as to why we are running the IDA in parallel with the planning board. Why? Everything that's being discussed here is discussed at the planning board. And it's like attending 2 meetings for approval. It's ridiculous. It's wasting everybody's time. Here's what should be done. You guys should make up your minds what you're going to do with these people right at the beginning. And then when you decide what you're going to do with them, then come to the planning board meeting and tell everybody at the planning board meeting what you decided to do. Yeah, then we'll hold you responsible for what you made as a decision at the planning board meeting. It'll eliminate all this nonsense that goes on here repeatedly, regurgitating everything. Okay? So let's get on to some important things here. Now, I got some required reading for you guys, and really, you need to do it. You see this? This is in the New Yorker. This is, Amazon avoids $1.5 billion in U.S. tax bill in court ruling. They are running their money through Luxembourg. And this is how they're getting these tax deductions. This was in 2014. They've been doing it every year since. Now, you worried about giving them $30 million? That's scrap. They don't worry about that. They have ways of avoiding paying these bills, okay? And that's why that shouldn't be allowed. Now, their philanthropy. Let's talk about their philanthropy. In 2018, when Seattle City Council, facing a homeless crisis, unanimously passed a measure that would have required the city's largest companies to pay a tax of $275 per local worker to build homeless shelters and affordable housing, Amazon balked. Then they withdrew their work on the skyscraper they were building in there. They worried about the $22 million this would cost. However, they were making $230 billion annually. We got to look at these numbers. These people here are begging for this money, but they don't deserve it. Now, I would say this, Mr. Mayor. There are no jobs on a dead planet. You get that? A dead planet has no jobs. And we're moving in that direction to a dead planet. And we have to stop this. There is no master plan. There is no serious master plan for this town at all. It doesn't take anything into consideration. Now, another thing is, we're worried about, Jesus, I've heard this talk before. If they don't get it, they'll sue us. Oh, really? Really? Sue us. I pay 5 times the amount of taxes that somebody equal to me in property ownership pays. Why? Why do I pay that much money more? Because we means test everything. Everybody gets means tested. They find out how much money I work, and then they look at somebody else, and they keep reducing the tax bill. Why aren't these people means tested? Why? They should be means tested. And that should settle the problem right there, means testing. I don't know if you know this, but Amazon, this article in the New Yorker should be read by you because it has a lot of information about Amazon and what they are as a company. Okay, they're a sweatshop. The employees are trying to find out how they can get fired in Amazon, and nobody would tell them. And then he finally came to the conclusion after talking to a lot of people, if you stand still for too long, you'll be fired. That's why you're fired in Amazon. You got to either move or find another job.
I'd ask you to wrap up your comments, please.
Well, why? Is there somebody standing behind me? Where? I'll make room. Where's the person? You gotta listen to me. I'm telling you right now. I want to be heard here in full. I don't want to be run out of town, okay?
Yeah, I might just remind you of the rules I outlined at the beginning of tonight's
Yeah, that was for
meeting.
the newcomers and everything coming in, and you wanted to get everybody. I let everybody go through, okay? Now sit and listen to me, because I had to listen to all the nonsense.
There are more people that want to speak. You have 5 minutes. You've exceeded the 5 minutes.
I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna do another 5 minutes, okay?
That's fine.
I'll be back. You take care of your customers here you got, and I'll be back.
Susan in the back of the room. I'll get to you next, Bill.
So,
Your full name?
my full name is Susan Cockburn. I live in the town of Montgomery. I just came down from New Paltz, and you know that the entire SUNY New Paltz College is being evacuated. Did you know that?
Due to the water.
Due to the water. So you guys are sitting here. Nobody, I think, you may be qualified, but you don't have any scientific backgrounds, and you're going to put this thing in right up to the watershed. And, excuse me?
They're not putting it anywhere. We're just talking about the pilot.
I know, but when they allow it, it goes in.
Please address the board, Susan.
Well, I hear somebody speaking, talking behind my back, so I'd like to address it.
To be quiet.
Yeah, I just think it's, you know, we all know what you're gonna do, because Brian Myers showed up and said what he's gonna say, and he steps in and he says what he has to say, and you're not listening to the residents that live here. You cut Mr. Bistrak off, he's gonna be looking at this thing, and the reason this thing has the opportunity to come in, besides the fact that some people have dead German relatives in the ground, is because there's no master plan, and there hasn't been one for about 40 years. That's the only reason that this is allowed to come in. That hubcap thing, it's hilarious that you keep putting it up there. It gets resurrected. It's no base in fact. There's no town constitution, and that was never voted on in any way, shape, or form to represent this town. So when everybody keeps indicating that the propeller plane and the coal-fired locomotive have anything to do with what's supposed to come into Montgomery, you're wrong. But I just think it's really rude the way you're letting everybody jump through hoops, when I can tell by looking at your eyes, you already made your decision, except for two people that have the manhood and the courage to stand up. Thanks.
I would just like to say we have the same rules for all speakers, and we abided by those rules and passed appropriateness last month, and I plan to continue to do that tonight. I would ask for any other speakers who are willing to conform to those rules of 5 minutes in new subject matter or additional questions. Kristen.
Evening. As per your request, I will follow your rules and state that I stand behind the Valley Central Teachers Association, as I have two little kids that will soon be in Valley Central School District, in kindergarten for one of them. So I do stand behind them. I also agree with Mr. Berger's comments and John Brown's comments. And as a point of clarification, for lobbyists that enter our town, in the town unit of government, it is level supervisor, not mayor. Thank you.
Sorry, Brian.
Bill, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Bill Fioravanti. I'm the Director of Economic Development for Orange County.
I've been dumbfounded by the opposition to this project for so long. I'm gonna talk about new stuff. What I did say in the past, that this is ideal, this project for this location. It's a matter of feet from the highway. It's gonna provide cargo planes. It'll feed Stewart Airport, which is critical. The environmental concerns are mitigated through the FAS. So that part's understood. But I really want to talk about the undeniable economic impact here of this project. First of all, it's an enormous job creator. We're talking 600, 800 jobs, whatever the number turns out to be. I know a lot of people in this audience look down on those jobs, okay? But I will get back to that. First of all, let me talk about something that is important to everyone here. Let's talk about the impact on the town and the surrounding area. Your IDA performed or commissioned a third-party independent analysis, economic analysis. I think it was CGR that did it. And they based it on the $18.81 million cost of incentives. And that's the original agreement that you approved. So that the cost being $18 million in taxes that you're giving up. The impact of the project is $360 million in direct economic impact and $116 million in spillover impact. That's $476.55 million in total economic impact as a result of this project. That is 25 times return on your investment, 25 times. Actually, with the renegotiated terms, it's closer to 27 times. That's an amazing return any of us would take on our 401k or any other investments. How does it benefit our schools? Well, thanks to the supervisors and the IDA's revised renegotiated terms with the applicant, the total pilot payments over 15 years will exceed $26 million compared to $690,000 if the land stays fallow. The majority of that, $26 million, goes to Valley Central schools. This is a similar impact as to all the other DCs, the distribution centers around Valley Central that are on Neely Town Road, that all go into the tax base for Valley Central schools. It's undeniable what the impact is. I shudder to think what condition the budget of the district would be in without those taxpayers all on Neely Town Road. I know, a lot of people don't like those, they don't want to look at them, they don't like the jobs, but it's an unbelievable impact to your town and to your schools. It's undeniable. Now, let me get back to the jobs. First, I do want to make clear to this audience, to everyone, and all of you, that we're not just working on this type of industry and trying to bring these types of jobs. Actually, my department just authored a white paper, a formal strategy on growing the technology sector in this area. That's something I agree with many in the audience we need to bring here. And I actually was excited by some of the programs that Mr. Marr, the supervisor, rattled off about Amazon, the young engineers and things like that. I'm excited to talk to them about how we can plug into that and we can strengthen our strategy, again, to bring these types of industries here. But regardless of that, tech and other types of jobs we're working on, these jobs matter. First of all, the public hearing for Medline, and one of the really positive things that came out of that is we got to hear from Montgomery families that have these types of jobs working in DCs. It's not just about the starting wage, it's what they get to, it's about bonuses, it's about incredible benefits, and you really got to hear heartfelt remarks from people about how those jobs affect them. So it's the same impact here. And I had the opportunity last week, I do live in the city of Newburgh, I moved from Montgomery to there, because I'm trying to be part of the revitalization. I think it's important for the county, for the entire region. I spoke with a group of people that work at distribution centers in the county, including McKesson Pharmaceutical is here as well. What an unbelievable impact. Many of them are making over $60,000 a year in salary, plus bonuses they get on top of that, incredible health insurance, tuition reimbursement, and countless other benefits on top of that. This is changing lives for people. Yeah, it's the city of Newburgh, which maybe some folks in this room look down on them as well, but this is for our whole county, for our whole region. These jobs are vital. Not to everyone, not to all of our kids. I too want to bring some companies and some jobs that my kids can go to college and come back into work here for, but the other jobs are important. They matter to a lot of families. This is an undeniably positive project, and I encourage you to close the public hearing and award these incentives. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill. Other speakers tonight? Sir.
How you doing? My name is Pasqualio. I'm Vice President of the Valley Central Teachers Association, also a taxpayer. I live at 27 East Avenue in Walden. I'm not here opposed to Amazon coming in or out. Like my president said, we're just here to make sure you guys pay your fair share. Just as a point of reference, we talk about salary and wages. Your CEO makes more in 20 minutes than you're going to pay in the first 5 years. 20 minutes. In 6 hours, he makes more than you will pay in the lifetime of this pilot. $30 million in less than 6 hours. Coming here, this pilot, it's not gonna break you, it's not gonna break him. That's not about why you're gonna be here. You're gonna be here because you need to be here, and that's what it's about. So when you come, pay your fair share and be a good neighbor. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone, you spoke already, let me just make sure everybody else is covered. Anyone else who hasn't spoken tonight that would like to speak? Randy.
Hi, Randy Green, Village of Montgomery. I have a question I hope you can answer, and then a comment, and then I'm gonna wing it because my pen died. Is it standard practice for the end user to be looked at as part of the pilot? Is the pilot generally given with the end user in mind? I mean, a lot of these projects are spec warehouses, are they not?
Bob, we discussed that a little bit in our opening comments, but I know there's been considerable questions.
The simple answer is yes.
So Amazon or whoever the end user of this particular warehouse would have always been considered in the pilot?
I don't understand your question.
If we're awarding a pilot, are we awarding it to the builder, the developer, the real estate?
It's
the
awarded
owner?
to the owner.
Okay, so why is Amazon being taken into consideration at all? If it doesn't matter who they lease their building to, then we're only awarding a pilot to the entity that owns the building. Is that right or wrong? Are we giving
Can you
Amazon a
rephrase
pilot,
that?
or are we giving?
You're giving it to the owner.
Of the
The owner
building.
of the real property. There is no building. Giving it to the owner of the real property.
So whoever takes over the lease of that property, they really shouldn't be taken into consideration who they are when we're awarding the pilot.
The owner of the property is making representation with respect to the job creation. The job creation is a function of the tenant, so
Okay.
they're intertwined.
Okay.
The agreements will require the number of construction jobs within the period set forth, as well as the amount of permanent jobs within the time period set forth.
Okay.
In the event those jobs are not created, there will be a recapture agreement to cancel everything out and claw back or pull back.
Right.
The state, the general municipal law doesn't use the word clawback, it says recapture.
Right.
Well, we capture all the benefits that are provided to the owner.
Okay. So one of the things I have here is from the school district from John Xanthus. I know that you guys already have that, but just I think it's worthy of saying, one of their main and valid concerns is that if Amazon is the beneficiary of the pilot, they need to be named as a guarantor or a responsible party to the provisions of the pilot to ensure our ability to recapture taxes if they fail to fulfill the terms of the pilot. So I thought that was something very valid. I mean, we're either considering Amazon when we're giving out this pilot or not. So if we are considering them because they're intertwined in the jobs that they're providing, then they should be named in the pilot. And then I think we've all pled with this board as we've pled with the town board and we've pled with the planning board on this project, on Medline, on all of it. And I think, you know, I'm not surprised that any of the things that John Brown said that, you know, you guys may or may not have been aware of, it's all the same miscommunication. It's all the same to me. I'm not surprised at any of this. It's a joke. And I think that as much as I think they never should have been awarded a pilot, you already gave it to them. So to take it back now it's not appropriate and it's really not fair. You've already not taken what we said into consideration once, so why is now any different? You've already given it to them. As much as I think this should be the last time we do it, you've already awarded it. So I just think, as unpopular a statement as that is to make, what's fair is fair, and I don't really know what we're all doing here. It's just a waste of time.
Thank you, Randy. Anyone else who hasn't spoken tonight? Beverly?
Thanks for allowing me to speak again. You all got a copy of this letter, I'm sure, from the residents protecting Montgomery. I'll just give you a few highlights of it. It's in regards to the Committee on Investigations and Government Operations, the final investigative report from Senator Skoufis dated December 16, 2019. It's an in-depth document, and it's documented a lot of actions and improper motions in regards to the town IDA and the handling of your mega warehouse projects and your pilots. And as of this writing, neither the town IDA nor the town board have taken any action, provided response, or addressed any of the issues addressed in that report. The town of Montgomery IDA, which is an economic agency, is supposed to be, you're supposed to be transparent. You're supposed to be upright and above board. And that is what is being called into question in that report. Are you really being that transparent? Are you really being that upfront? Because it doesn't appear to be. At this time, attention to procedural review, to operate a spotless and blameless manner, it just hasn't happened yet. To date, neither this board nor the town board have submitted or provided any documentation, response of any kind to the New York State Senator's reports, despite your consistent and stunning revelations of improper activities, such as calling special meetings. The one you called on January 24th, there was no postings given. As of the 22nd, it's supposed to be 2 days before. As of January 22nd, there was no posting, even on your own website. That is a violation of the simple procedures that are talked about in this report. So we anticipate your compliance with the requirements of your IDA bylaws and the sworn oath of this office that you have taken prior to and before any further actions are taken on behalf of any IDA applicant. Requests for access to our tax dollars, we respectfully submit our right to and demand proof of each claim that is accused, that is brought up in the Senator's report. Thank you.
Thank you,
And you do
Beverly.
have copies.
Yes, we do. Don?
Yeah, boy, just a couple things that I failed to bring up, and I just caught on to it. Everybody's, a lot of people, folks have been mentioning the letter from Valley Central School District, John Exanis, dated February 11th today. The one thing that people, Mr. Williams didn't mention in the letter, and I think it's a very, very, very important paragraph, it's paragraph 4, and I'm going to read it. The school district strongly opposes giving multi-billion-dollar companies unjustified and egregious long-term tax abatements of $22 million that unfairly burdens and takes advantage of the local taxpayer and residents. I think that's very important to be noted, and that's why I want to get out on public record. The other thing that has been bounced around here and addressing Mr. Stoddard and all those union members back there. Some time ago, as you know, I believe it was in July, the application from Mr. Chase for the local labor law. I'm wondering if these union members are aware that you reduced that number. It's not 85% as they're all coming up here and talking about. It's 60%. So union members need to be aware of the truth. This is what they're doing. That hits you, but this is something that you're not aware of. Now I just made you aware of that. Thank you.
Don, I might just clarify, this board took no action on that letter, so no decision has been made.
The letter's still there. Still exists.
The letter is in our...
But there's no action. The 85% is the policy.
All right. Anyone else like to speak tonight? Mr. Meister?
Yeah. Today, Amazon.com lists 330 million products sold by other companies. Scott Needham, whose company Buy Boxers sells about 70,000 on Amazon, ranging from toys to sporting goods, paid the company roughly $20 million in fees. There's really no other choice, Needham said. There's a lot of things I don't like about Amazon, but that's where all the customers are. Recently, the U.S. House of Representatives and European Union began scrutinizing fulfillment by Amazon and similar programs out of concern they impede competition, and they certainly do. They are putting malls and everything out of business. One other thing is the fellow that spoke here in pro for this. I call him the onerous guy. He's the one that comes to you and says, it's the onerous taxes of New York is why we have to give these guys breaks. Think about that. The onerous taxes of New York. I'm supposed to put up with them? You're supposed to put up with them? But they're not. Come on, let's share the onerous taxes. That is incredible. I mean, the onerous tax has been levied on us by the governor. Now, one other thing I want to make before I go. You all got the letter that I wrote about the sewer plant, okay? And if you haven't read it, it'll be in the paper, Wallkill Times, probably tomorrow. I've been against that sewer plant from day one with these guys. They know that. On the first day they came here, I was against that thing. Don't accept that plant under any conditions, none. Thank you.
Thank you. I can't see. Barbara.
Hi. Thank you again. I really just have a very quick question. There's been a lot of encouragement to close this public hearing this evening. I'd like to know if you will fulfill the request from my FOIL request that was submitted for information before closing this hearing. It's information that is in the town of Montgomery's possession. I've asked for source documents for a lot of things. I've asked for Exhibit F. I've had no response, and it's kind of troubling since it does go back to December.
Well, Ms. Lerner, I'm not aware of your FOIL request. It's never been provided to me. Anything that the town has is available to the public. It's posted on the website. The exhibits are posted on the website, so I'm really not sure what it is you're looking for. I'm happy to discuss that further with you, but I really am at a loss as to what you're talking about.
I asked for the source, Exhibit F, which you
Okay,
weren't able to find.
Again,
right.
All of the documentation with respect to what is the subject matter of this hearing is posted on the website. I don't know what else we can provide, that the agency can provide beyond what is posted on the website.
I accept that and I understand. I did send in 3 different emails that were addressed to the board. Mr. Christ, you have received them. I know that Sue has received them. I asked for the source documents for the cost benefit. I asked for...
The source documents, with due respect, are not within the purview of this agency. They hired an outside vendor who uses the information from the application and has a proprietary program, as I understand it, that then issues the cost benefit analysis. They have, this agency, in my opinion, have gone above and beyond what the statute requires with respect to that analysis that, as I understand it, is supported by the EDC and the state controller.
The document says prepared by the town of Montgomery.
Okay,
Those...
it's been prepared by the vendor. I understand the language, but whatever the language is, it may be misleading, and we can address that with the vendor, okay? But the document was prepared on behalf of the town by a vendor that uses this proprietary program.
There's a caption on the, I think it's the 4th page or 5th page of that document, says that the financial, something to the effect of the financial information is provided by, not the applicant, but I believe it said, didn't specifically name the town, but that they are not responsible for any discrepancy, and that, you know, it goes back to their program. And I understand Inform Analytics is the program, and I think it was CGR is
The vendors
organization.
Inform Analytics, as I recall it,
That's the program.
and this agency appointed the vendor sometime last summer.
So the cost benefit, you have no idea if those numbers are even close to being accurate because they come
The
directly
agency
from
reviewed the
applicant?
numbers with the vendor that were taken from the application after the application was reviewed by the agency with the applicant. I don't know what you're asking for. I'm happy to discuss whatever it is that you think you don't have. There's nothing being hidden. This board has been incredibly transparent. I know you don't like to hear that, but the board has been incredibly transparent, and anything that they have is posted on the website, above and beyond what's required by state law.
I understand and I see what you're getting at. My question for the board is, have you done independently any analysis on the cost benefit to see where those numbers actually come from? Because that is when the applicant states that there is a $450 or $460 some odd $1 million benefit to us, it behooves me to think that you haven't verified that at least some portion of that is accurate. And just to be, I'm a numbers person, I would want to see where those source documents are. I'd like to see some reference to the amount of sales tax, what the concept of spillover benefit is. I would hope that with a project of this size, that you would consider looking into the source and where those numbers come from. I understand that it's a program analysis, but since you do represent us, I would hope that you would look into the source. Otherwise, it could be anything.
So, to respond, I guess I have two. One, on one level, I have no idea what you're asking. Number two, that question really is not appropriate for this hearing in the sense that there's no decision being made this evening, okay? I think it's important that you make this comment for the board members as they consider a decision in the future, that they use that as part of their decision-making process. So I applaud you for making that. I'm not really sure what you're looking for, but if you want to meet with me after this meeting, I'm happy to try and figure it out with you and provide you with whatever you want. Because there's nothing that the agency is hiding here.
As I said, I have emailed requests in since, and I would love to speak with you after. I appreciate that.
I'm not your attorney, but I encourage you that if you believe FOIL is not being followed, there are provisions and ways after you believe an agency hasn't responded, that there are actions you can take to pursue that, and I encourage you to do that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Anybody else tonight? John?
I feel I have to respond to the comment made that the information I provided was a joke.
No, that's not what I meant. Like,
That's what you said.
No, I meant this whole thing.
John, just address us, please.
Okay, well, certainly, as those of you who have known me for my career know that I do not bring forward false information. And in fact, what I did bring forward was new information tonight to the board, not just a repetition of what had been brought forward before. And a number of us have all worked on new information tonight. So it's not a joke to bring forward new information to the board for you to consider. The other point that I want to make is all of us here who live in this community support our local workers and our local unions. I have a family member who is a member of a local union. And I think it's important to have jobs here because I know what it's like to not have a job in your community and have to commute. What we're really dealing with is they put you in a situation that says, if you don't give us this incentive, we're not going to use local labor. And I think it's appropriate for you to say to them, listen, it's important for our community for you to use local labor, so why don't you commit to using that independent of the value of the incentive? Now, the reality of it is, they're asking you for a new incentive that has somewhere in the range of a, let's say, $20 million benefit. If they went for the 485B, they would be getting $7 or $8 million anyway. So what you're really dealing with is you're giving an incentive of $12 million. Now, I happen to believe that this town can benefit a lot more by taking that same $12 million and applying it to things of real value to us. Things like new recreation fields, supporting the schools, PDR or our ambulance service being qualified for ALS. I think it's better to have that money in our hands to use it directly for our benefit. And oh, by the way, that number is inconsequential to what they spent in one night on Super Bowl ads.
Sir. Mike Gatos, I work with Local 417. We could go on all night, but everybody here sitting here says they love the unions. Well, I don't know, and I hope no one ever experiences, but I got 50 members out of work. Some of them are have no unemployment. Some of them are going to lose their house. Okay, so you know what? Yeah, we fight for every job we can, temporary, because that's our full-time job. Okay, so to say Blue Water, Sailfish, Amazon, they went to other areas and didn't use local union labor. I'll say it, everybody look it up. Everybody does it here, look it up, look it up. They agreed to sit down with us, and it's all local union labor. So cut it out. They agreed to use all local union labor. And to say Matt Stoddard put his members secondary, hell no. He's a board member, yes, he's an iron worker representative. But his job is to put our members to work. And that's what he did. So I applaud him and I applaud the board to put our members to work and put tax dollars in Montgomery's pocket.
Any last short comments tonight? Seeing no other comments, any recommendation? Bob, the time is 7:38. I'll add it on my paperwork here. And I would ask the board for comment or consideration of a motion to close the public hearing tonight. Motion by Ed. Is there a second to that motion? By Steve. Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion? And I might just say before we vote, and Bob, please confirm this if you concur, we will accept written comment after tonight and before the decision is made, which is customary to all our projects.
Sure.
Ask for a vote on the motion to close the public hearing tonight. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you for your attendance tonight. The hearing is closed.
One quick question. The time period between now and your decision? How long is that?
I'll be getting to that in a few moments under other business.
Nobody asked you. No, I said no. Nobody asked you your opinion. Maybe you should speak in.
If I could ask for some order,
Excuse me, we have a public meeting going on.
we have more business to cover. Thank you, everybody.
The meeting is not closed. I'm sorry.
I will take advice from the chairman. Mr. Chairman, I apologize for interrupting your meeting, and I will leave it. Thank you.
Approval of minutes for our January 14th meeting of 2020. Any additions, corrections to those minutes? A motion to approve would be entertained by Bob, second by Steve. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. And our special meeting of January 24th, 2020. Additions, corrections to those minutes? Is there a motion for approval? By Steve, thank you. Matt, second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, the same. Those minutes are approved. And financial report for January, Matt, please.
Yes. Checkbook, beginning balance, $257,764. One check was written to Times Community Paper for $88.15, leaving a total in the checking account of $257,676. In our Orange Bank and Trust, our investments, we have 3 CDs. One at $54,512, the other one at $290,390, and the third one at $109,656, bringing you a total in investments of $454,560. The total between the checking and the investments brings it to $712,236.
Questions, comments for Matt on the January financial report? Motion to accept that report would be appreciated. Thank you, Steve, you're full of it tonight. Second by Bob. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried for the January financial report. Under other business, we did notice a special meeting for this Friday, February 14th at 11:30 in the morning. And that will be to consider further consideration on the USEF sailfish project with possible decision. So that should answer your question, sir. Any other business besides the special meeting?
When is the training session?
Oh, yeah, it's up to you guys.
Well, I'm thinking in March at our regular meeting, except we're listed for March 10th at 5:30. So we could do a notice to start training at 5, or would you rather just do 5:30?
It's completely up to the board. I mean, I just did a training for another IDA and we took 4 hours. So
Oh, okay.
I don't think you want to take 4 hours, but
Yeah.
it's entirely up to you.
I'll
do whatever the board wants me to
Okay.
do.
Any comments on our training? Do you want to try to do it the same afternoon? What would we need to come in at 4?
I think last year we started about 4:30.
Okay.
And then we pushed the IDA meeting until 6. That at least we get an hour and a half in. If we go a little bit long, we go a little bit long.
4:30. And we would do a revised notice for that meeting, for the training?
We haven't noticed anything for March yet, so.
Oh, we haven't? Okay. No, I think it's on our list of
Well, it's on the
meetings.
list, but you haven't done a formal notice under the open meetings law yet.
Oh, okay. So we'll address that timing accordingly. Any other business for tonight? Thank you, everybody, for your attendance and patience tonight. Another lengthy meeting. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Ed, second by John. All in favor? Oh, okay. Thank you, Steve. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion adjourned. Yes, see you Friday.